Businesses are finding ways to be more productive through the use of technology than the use of employment of individuals. A lot of people are saying they're forced into that because taking on new employees adds to a level of future uncertainty into what their obligations are going to be with those employees. And I know a lot of people whose businesses are doing well, but they are working existing people overtime and hiring part-time instead of full-time employees. I say, why? They say, I don't know how health care is going to come down and what my obligations are going to be in the future relative to providing health care for employees. I don't know what we're being besieged by regulations out of Washington that leave a cloud of uncertainty over what's next. There's uncertainty relative to what our tax obligations are going to be in the future. That's a big part of the debate today. Are we going to have lower corporate taxes to spur the economy as being proposed by a number of candidates for president? And I'm one of those in Congress that's proposing that. Or are we going to get surtaxes? So I was with the medical device industry people, and they're getting whacked with a surtax and to help pay for the health care plan. I was with others who basically say, I got money parked overseas, but if I have to bring it back at 35% or 39% or whatever, I'm going to leave it there. Are we going to have tax reform or aren't we going to have tax reform? So uncertainty, I think, is probably the central word that I'm hearing from employers all over the state and business people. Give us some certainty. We can deal with even uncertainty that we don't totally favor, but uncertainty freezes us in place in terms of hiring, buying equipment, making decisions on expanding the plant. Many of them are sitting on pretty good piles of cash, but they're not ready to invest that cash until they get better certainty out of this. The country's more sharply divided. It has been. Let me look at 2008 versus 2010. 2012 may break the tie in terms of which direction we want to go relative to the role of government and a whole number of things. But they're two very different visions for the future of America in relationship to its relationship to the federal government, individual citizens, states, businesses, and so forth, relationship to the federal government. And I think maybe that'll be settled by the 2012 election. But right now, those two visions and ideologies are clashing. And that's why we have this division there. By the same token, the potential crisis that exists financially and from a national security perspective are greater than what we've seen in a long, long time. I mean, this is a much tougher recession and fiscal situation than the guy who wrote the book, This Time Is Different. I mean, the couple that wrote the book, This Time Is Different, Reinhardt and Rogoff. This time it really is different. And we're facing immense worldwide financial challenges and issues. And that tends to bring us together. I mean, we always say we can argue so much on this. I mean, this gang of six, it really expanded to like the gang of 40. We were all meeting together, Republicans and Democrats, saying, we've got a mess on our hands here, and we got to, find ways to work together to solve it. The Committee of 12 was based on the idea that, it's going to take both of us together to put something together that hopefully that will be workable. So there's while there's a lot of public, they can't get anything done, get anything together publicly, there's a lot of backroom talking going on, a lot of crossing the aisle talking going on, a lot of bipartisan concern about this thing is bigger than politics, and the solution needs to be bigger than politics. Indiana has taken responsible steps to put in place effective. Other states have refused to take those steps. They're deeply in debt. They want to be bailed out, and they want to maintain. They're afraid to take make hard decisions about that, and they want Indiana taxpayers to pay for their failure to get their act together. And that money's going to go to states, and it's going to go to localities that have not taken the steps that we have taken over the last 6 years. and say, well, you guys pay for us, because, we want a free ride because Illinois is a perfect example. We want a free ride over here because politically we weren't willing to take the steps that you took over there in order to get us lean, more efficient, effective public service sector. What goes along with the distribution of the check, the responsibility from the receiver to make the necessary reforms and changes so we don't have to keep pouring money into a system that's broken or bloated or excessive or whatever. Okay. So all these stories come in about, people retiring, policemen retiring after 20 years and getting $150,000, more money than they were paid when they were there. And states refusing and cities refusing to step up and do something. Now it's starting to happen, but a lot of states have just, there's no better example than Illinois, our neighbor state, in terms of their refusal, for political reasons basically, to touch anything that affects teachers, merit pay, tenure, bloated police and fire departments with people getting benefits and retirements that are just unsustainable and not doing anything about it. Give us more money to do that, to continue to do that. At some point, you got to draw the line and just say there are conditions that come with that. What I understand, INDOT's going to, they're working to have a recommendation as to which one of the three options they're going to go forward with. What I would like to do is give more flexibility to states. I would like the money to come back without federal restrictions on it. More flexibility to states to make the decisions on their priorities. And I just don't think sitting in Washington through an appropriations process where the people who've been there the longest can direct the most money to their state for this or that or whatever works anymore. And I think we need a lot more state flexibility. Here we have a state that's, again, made the hard choices on, and Daniels took a lot of heat on it, on major moves, but it puts us in a much better position to pave roads and structure bridges and do things that we couldn't do if we were just simply under the federal system. So working hard. We have a transportation bill coming up on that. But I know this decision, it's a state decision as to what the priorities are. I would view it as a priority because of the density of traffic and my understanding of the area. That's I've driven all that. I've been in those traffic jams and backups, and I know the concentration and density of the transportation system here because of the industry and the people that live here and so forth. And I do think that Northwest Indiana has been sometimes not as high on the priority list as they should have been in past history in terms of money coming up from the state in order to deal with essential issues here. If I were President of the United States, and I won't be and never will try to be, if I were, I'd want Mitch Daniels in a room very close to the Oval Office because I just think he not only talks the talk and is smart enough to understand what he's saying, but he's walked the walk. He's proven it, and I would want a genius like that close by. And so anybody who would inherit Mitch Daniels at their side would be a real step up. I'm a big my man Mitch guy, wherever he ends up.